All right, folks, it actually happened. This is something that has been discussed in the games industry for probably over a decade. Is like, when will physical discs, physical games stop being produced? And it's just really shocking that it's actually happening here. And Sony being the ones to do it is actually even more surprising, to be completely honest. I always thought Microsoft would be the first ones to do this. So if you're not familiar, physical discs production ending in 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles. This means you won't be able to go out to your local store, pick up a game off the shelf, buy it, play it, later on trade it to a friend, resell it to get some of that money back to put towards other games. And it also means that, you look ahead 20 maybe years in the future, 30 years in the future, and you're going to have much less availability to, relive a lot of these experiences. So for today, I want to do a few things. I want to talk a little bit about this and, my thoughts as a game developer on what I'm doing personally, and I want to talk a little bit about the progress on Lock and Stone, which is the game that I'm playing, and I want to actually dip into the Indiegaming subreddit and take a look at what's going on. Before we get any further, my name is David. I'm working on an indie game called Lock and Stone. This is an adventure game, and it has a little bit of Resident Evil. It has a little bit of like Blueprints. So if you want to check it out, the playtest is currently open. You can go down to this page on Steam, Lock and Stone, join the playtest. I'm probably going to leave this only open for one more week before I shut it down. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but if you want to check it out, please feel free. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you want to help me out, a wish list really is helpful. I'm tracking. Oh, I don't have it on here. I'll put it in later. Wish lists. My goal is to hit 7,000 before this thing goes live, so we'll see if we're on track for that. I think that'll be a good topic for an upcoming video. But going back to this, this is I've never owned a Sony console personally. Like, I've always either been Nintendo, well, Sega back in the day, or Xbox or PC. But I've never had a Sony console, so this is not impacting me directly, but I think as a wider, person who loves video games and loves sharing the experience with other people, it's pretty bittersweet. I want to just shout out, so Jason Schreier, if you're familiar, did a really good video today about why Sony is pursuing this, and the really sad part about that is I actually understand why they're doing it. I don't agree with it from a consumer perspective and a developer's perspective, but it really made me realize that I don't think they're gonna go back on it. There's a huge wave of disappointment and outrage from gamers across the spectrum, but after hearing what he's saying, I have zero expectation that they're gonna reverse course. There's any chance to reverse course. So I'd highly recommend his video. He talks basically about how much more money Sony is going to make from doing it this way, and the fact that they've already sold off their physical disc production pipeline. So it's tough. I was cleaning out my closet the other day, and I found this box. This is literally like I dug it out yesterday, and this box, I don't know if you can see it, games for sale. And at one point, I remember going through and saying, okay, it's time to let go of a lot of my physical games. But for one reason or another, I couldn't bring myself to go and sell some of these. And, having read this, I think it was last week, the news broke, yes, July 1st. And I'm looking back at this box, and I'm not going to sell these games anymore. Not that these are particularly valuable games individually, but your mileage may vary on how much you like these different games. But I can say that I have played every single one of these. Just to kind of paw through these as I'm talking about it. Like, there's lots of different games here that I would look at very, very fondly, and I know I like when I hold these things in my hand, it's a very tactile thing, right? Like I remember my experiences playing each of these, and I wouldn't trade that for, a few bucks back, on these different games. And the fact that people are not going to really be able to have a physical library anymore makes me sad, because this is culture, right? Games are art. The stories and experiences and the feelings that people have are very real, and I don't think you're going to be able to replace that. If you want to do this for yourself, I highly recommend doing this. SteamDB, you can go onto a calculator. This is my personal Steam account, and I've had this for it looks like almost 20 years. I've had Steam, and I can understand that I've bought way more Steam games than I have physical games. And I can also, you can just see the amount of time I've spent on different kinds of things here. But, I've only played 208 of my 377 games. And I've played every single one of my physical games, I'm pretty sure. Might not have completed all of them, but I've played all of them. And I think that, I can't, trade these games away to other people to share the experience with them. I can't, bring them over to a friend's house or something like that. These just are locked into my library. And, eventually, maybe it's probably not going to happen anytime soon, but eventually Steam will go away. It will, one reason or another, it'll go away. Whether that's from new technology rendering it obsolete, something happening to Valve in some way, the costs to host games gets too expensive, so they start sunsetting certain things. At some point, Steam will go away. At some point, Valve will go away. And all these games that I own will eventually just turn into dust, virtual dust. And it's very sad. It's very sad because, I have a son, and he's just under 2, and I would like to play games with him. And I look at a lot of these games on here, and there's a few on this list that you literally can't play anymore. And there's another conversation about live service there, but it will only take a matter of time before a lot of these games will be, unplayable. Fun fact, I worked on this one. That's why there's so many hours on this. Warhammer 40,000 Dark Nexus Arena. Gundam Evolution, I just noticed here too. Actually, I really like this game. It's I think it was criminally underrated. It's basically Overwatch for Gundam. I love Gundam stuff, so it's pretty fun. But yeah, so going back to this, I don't think I think now that Sony has taken the first hits on this, I do not see a reason that Microsoft would not follow suit fairly soon, because I think that they are even more tied to this, digital services environment. They have Game Pass, they have their Windows. I think that they will definitely follow suit. I do not think Nintendo will do it as much. I think there is a much more of that toy maker mentality with Nintendo, that they'll probably hold out on this. I don't know for how long. Eventually, with all this these costs being shifted towards AI infrastructure, everything, all this hardware is getting more expensive. There's missed opportunity, with putting their money towards certain kinds of infrastructure that needs to happen. We're seeing hardware get more expensive. I think there's a lot of pressure for console makers to scrimp and save as much as possible to supplement that. I think the PlayStation's going to be, I think I heard it was going to be over $1,000 at least in Canadian dollars or something like that. I understand that they need to, they feel they need to try and make up the difference in some way. So it's just sad. I get it, but it's just sad. I think that I really hope that there is going to be a renewed interest in people for physical games, especially these companies who I would love to work with, is to get actual physical printed versions of games, even if it's in low quantities, like limited run, IM8-bit, all these kinds of niche opportunities. Okay, let's talk about Lock and Stone for a little bit here. I will I'll go through this. It's been a little bit of a tough week. So I've had pneumonia for I don't know how long I've had it, but I've been putting off going to the clinic or anything. So I'm on antibiotics now. It's going back. But a combination of having pneumonia and my family having pneumonia, but me having less pneumonia than the rest of the family is basically mean I'm just shouldering a lot of the family responsibilities to make sure that they're okay. And all that's translated to not a lot of production in the last week. So I hope to be able to like really get back into the swing of things and get ready for the demo. So the demo is the big milestone that I need to hit. I was really hoping to have it out by July, but I'm suspecting it'll probably come towards mid-July, hopefully not late July. And in order to get there, I need to do a few things specifically. So I'm working on, transitions into the demo, transitions out of the demo, basically like little mini cutscenes. And I've also been working on the stalker enemy pretty significantly. So that's been going well. I would say that I actually really like working on enemies. I think it's hard. It's definitely very, very hard because it's not something that I think you can very easily, test. Like if you're working on something and it's like, oh, I'm working on shooting a gun, or I'm working on picking up an item, or reading this thing, or doing this UI stuff. I think you can very easily simulate the game, look at it, see if it's working, jump out, go back in. With AI, enemy behavior AI, I think it's actually really difficult, or at least more difficult, to understand exactly why it's doing what it's doing, because it has its own logic system, it has its own AI perception systems. So I would say it's taking a lot longer than I would expect to get it all working where I want it to be, but it's rewarding because Lock and Stone isn't really a horror game specifically, but it is a spooky game. It's sometimes, and I have scared myself so many times by having an enemy sneak up behind me when I am not expecting them to, or even intending them to. So I think I might be getting more scared than you all will when you actually play it. So, but it's been fun. So that's my basic plan over the next 1 to 2 weeks is get this demo wrapped up and start putting it out to people. I'm also doing a new capsule just to kind of be better example of how the game works and operates. So, I've gotten some feedback that this logo is a little basic, and this art doesn't really match the in-game character and the environment, stuff like that, so we'll be working on that. I also, at some point, need to bite the bullet and work on a new trailer. I do not like making trailers, but I need to. The current one, I'll just, I'll let it play for a little bit here. It's moody, but it's, I think, pretty boring, and I think it doesn't really do a great job conveying where the game's at now, because, so much more has come into the game. This was recorded and filmed fairly early in development, so it doesn't really convey how the game, how you work on puzzles and how you work on things. And some of these content's not anymore, like this valve stuff. I removed all these valves. There's more magic and there's more interpretation happening here. So anyway, it's also just like a very slow start. I want to try and I've learned a lot more about how to hook people in and stuff like that. And so, if you look at the, I don't mind showing you this. If you look at the content, where do I actually see this? Here we go. Look at this. So once this tile, this pop-up hits, boom, it flags way down. And then, steady decline, which I would expect. But this is kind of like a point where people have kind of they watch the trailer, they make a decision as to like, all right, I don't want to continue. And then they just like really fall off here. So the goal for the next trailer that I'm going to be releasing will be to have this be a little more steady. I'm not a trailer guy. I'm not expecting to have like a huge amount of retention going through the video, but I at least want to like try and smooth this off. So that'll be a big goal. Yeah, I think that's it. If you have any questions or want to talk a little bit more specifically about where the game's at, hit it up in the comments, and I'll either if I think it's good for a future discussion, I'll fold it into the next devlog, or I'll just answer it there. But yeah, let's you know, for the rest of this video, let's look at Indiegaming and see what's going on. I'd love to just kind of like use this as an opportunity to see what catches my eye, and see this. This is cute. Very overcooked coated. So this looks like a looks like it's called Uh-Oh Airlines. Early access in 6 days. That's adorable. Very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see what else is gonna jump out at us here. I like checking out indie games. I mean, it is very you know, self-promo-y, so sometimes you'll find you know, it's difficult to really comb through everything to see like what's the coolest thing happening right now. Oh, is it frozen? It froze. All right. Yeah. You know, I want to spend some time just kind of talking. I was thinking about actually going live on these devlogs in the future, just to like have a little bit more. You know, it's not like I'm doing any editing anyways, right? So I might as well just talk. But if you're interested in that, let me know. It might actually be easier from like a production standpoint and from a you know, delivery standpoint to have a chat and everything going. So I'm actually thinking about doing that. I'm not sure when, at what point in the week. Yeah, this is just totally frozen. At what point in the week I might do that. I suspect, you know, I want to do it kind of as like a kickoff for the week, just for myself and for, you know, get into the week in the swing of things. Oh, you okay? There we go. Yeah, so let's take a look and see what else is on here. Man, I have so much respect for people who can throw together a nice-looking demo like this in a week. Good on you, folks. I was planning to do the Cinti Game Jam, but the game's not... Lock and Stone is not demo ready yet. Because I wanted to use the Cinti Game Jam that's happening right now to do like a 1 week kind of palette cleanser. Because I'd like to, you know, get a little bit of a break. Read his Steam capsule. I'm probably going to do a post about this later and see what people say. It's really cool to see how people could really improve, and really curious like to see how that changes all the wish lists. Okay, it's frozen again. All right, well, we're going to call it there. Anyway, thanks for coming out to watch. I always like to you know, hold myself accountable with these devlogs. If there's things you want to talk about, if you have questions you want to ask, if you want me to take a look at your indie game too, that'd be fun. So just feel free to throw it down in the comments. And yeah, we'll call it there. So have a great week. Thank you.